Hello and welcome back to Continental Club Extra. No total football this week because there is no Champions League action, but we are back in the studio to dissect the hottest topics in European football, but in minute form, and focus on one in particular. And this week, it is all about the Bundesliga, probably the most exciting, I'd say it's probably the most exciting title race in Europe. It's also got a magnificent race for Champions League football and a tight relegation battle. But today we're going to focus on the battle between Dortmund and Bayern at the top. Dortmund are now top following their 6-1 demolition of FC Köln on Saturday. Bayern Munich lost 2-1 to Leverkusen through two penalties from Ezequiel Palacios as well. Means that BVB are now 1 point ahead of them going into the international break. It feels like their best title chance since 2011-12 when Dortmund won their second consecutive title under Jurgen Klopp. So can they finally break the Bayern stranglehold on the Bundesliga? McCabs, what is the case for yes, they can?
Yeah, I mean, they're obviously a little bit fortunate that Bayern have dropped off in the way that they have since Christmas. I think Bayern have only won 5 of their 10 games since the World Cup, which is pretty mad. And Dortmund are in amazing form, aren't they? In those 10 games, they've won 9 and drawn 1. They're unbeaten in that time. Obviously, they went out of the Champions League to Chelsea, and I think we saw, especially in that second leg, the limitations of this Dortmund side. And we've seen those limitations this season. We've seen them in seasons past. They are a flawed side. They have been for quite a while now, probably since the Thomas Tuchel days, if we're honest. However, they are in brilliant form, and they are now on course. If their form across the season were to carry on, I think they averaged 2.1 points per game throughout this season. If they carry on that course, they are on course for 72 points, which would be their biggest tally since 2018-19. And on this run of form that they're currently on, in the last 10 games, they've averaged 3 goals a game, which is unsurprisingly the best in the league. That's the kind of numbers that we used to see from Bayern when they were under Hansi Flick and they had Robert Lewandowski scoring, twice a game or whatever it was. They also ranked top of the league for XG in that time. They've registered 28 points, which is 7 more than next best Union Berlin, who themselves have wobbled a little bit in recent weeks. More unsurprisingly, only Union and Leipzig have conceded fewer goals than them. And they've just made up this huge deficit. They were 9 points behind Bayern Munich when the World Cup kicked off, and now, they're 1 point ahead. And let's also consider that there was a long time between that as well. It's not like they've had since Christmas to make that up. It's when did the Bundesliga kick off again? It was late January, wasn't it? So it's only really been less than 2 months they've managed to make this up. I think they do. This is their best chance in a long time, even if this isn't necessarily the best incarnation of Dortmund that we've seen in that time. And I think it's because Bayern have, especially defensively, been quite suspect at points. And I mean, look at the players as well in this Dortmund side who are hitting form now. Donyell Malen, who, great game against Köln, especially in that first half, was just absolutely, electric down that right-hand side. Got that goal and assist. Really, really impressive stuff from him. Rafael Guerreiro, who, Dortmund fans were worrying a little bit about last season. Oh my God, he is probably the best left-back in Europe again, isn't he? 2 goals and 7 assists in his last 5 Bundesliga games. He's obviously been playing in midfield as well. Let's remember, actually. So, maybe the numbers are a bit skewed, but nevertheless, he has become so central to that Dortmund attack again. Julian Brandt, injured at the moment, but 4 goals since February. Gio Reyna looks, at least in a goal-scoring sense, better than he ever has done. Obviously, he's very, very young, but it's great to see him back in the side, especially making an impact off the bench. And Seb Haller's back as well. He's had a decent, return, I think, given the circumstances of his absence. 3 goals and 6 starts. Got a brace from 2 shots against Köln as well. His expected goals are really high as well, which, considering that he's not necessarily shooting all that much, suggests that his movement in the box, his ability to pick up good shooting positions, is at a real high as well. So I think Dortmund fans have a right to believe they can do this. The only thing is that their next game is against Bayern Munich. at the Allianz Arena. I mean, it all rests on that, doesn't it? I mean, in terms of if they can avoid defeat there, then they have, you know, they don't have Champions League to focus on now. They only have the DFB Pokal.
It's kind of the Arsenal story.
Yeah, which Bayern are also in the DFB Pokal as well. And like I said, you know, Bayern have been inconsistent. Nagelsmann has some serious work to do in the international break, I think, in terms of masterminding their run-in. But yeah, that's the one stumbling block for me is you know, playing Bayern at the Allianz. Dortmund generally do not have a good time of it there, as I'm sure Henry will get into in a second. But yeah, I think Dortmund fans have every right to dream about this. It's not the same as Arsenal. Arsenal are a better side, and they are the best side in England. I don't think necessarily that Dortmund are the best side in Germany. Probably not. I think Bayern, even Leipzig, are arguably around their level, if not better. But they've got themselves into this position off a great run of form, and they've improved a lot. So if they can continue to improve and they can avoid defeat against Bayern, then yeah, why not?
Yeah, it feels like this is the perfect time for them to take advantage of a pretty weird season across Europe, really. We've seen loads of the big boys, the Milan clubs, you know, Chelsea, Liverpool, Man City have been more inconsistent than usual. Real Madrid haven't put together a particularly good domestic campaign, and neither have Bayern Munich. And it feels like it's probably the second most impressive rebuild in Europe after losing Haaland last summer, behind Napoli. No one really saw this coming, but they have seemingly become just a more well-rounded team. I kind of agree with your point earlier that they've maybe been more entertaining at points in the past, like in the peak days of Hakimi and Sancho and Haaland and then Bellingham coming in. Maybe they played slightly more entertaining football, but I think they're a much better, well-rounded side, which is really impressive work from Edin Terzic, given the fact that he was unfairly probably let go the season before last. Henry, let's move on to the case for no, and I suppose the big one is the history of bottling it and Bayern's history of getting over the line.
Yeah, I do agree with you. First and foremost, I would love to see it happen. Obviously, I think it's good for the Bundesliga. What is it, 10 straight titles for Bayern Munich. I think it's important to have a team like Dortmund that can push them and that show that they've got the will and the kind of mental strength to do it too. It is difficult. The numbers, I think, are slightly skewed because, as McCubbin has said, it's the last 10 games really where we've seen Dortmund turn it on again. So yes, they have the second best attack, fourth best defence, fifth best for expected goals against, exactly. But if we sort of break the season in half, it's now that they're motoring towards it. And what was so impressive against their victory against Köln is they had 12 shots on target and 6 of them were goals. So they're getting in clinical positions and scoring goals. And you can't really ask for much more. If you look at the goals, there weren't any particularly screamers. It was just good finishes all round and competent team play. So they've got that going for them. They are a few injuries away from a mini disaster, almost, I'd say. They do have Adeyemi coming back, which I think is going to be really important. We saw how much they missed him in the Chelsea away leg. His pace is just unrivaled, in all honesty, in the Bundesliga. He's really coming to form, a bit like Daniel Malen this season too. But yeah, Moukoko, who was really sort of holding the fort for them at the start of the season up front, he's been out. Brandt, as you say, having another amazing season. Kobel, he wasn't fit enough to start the loss to Chelsea, and he wasn't in goal this weekend too, but I actually thought Meyer did an all right job. Bino Gitten's out till late April as well, which is a shame, just for fans everywhere really, because it's quite fun to see him doing well. But yeah, so they are sort of an injury or two away from a serious problem, and as we've always gone on about, the depth in that Bayern Munich squad to change something, to sort of flip a game on its head, is there, although Bayern aren't getting over the line. What I will say again about Dortmund is, having lost to Chelsea, having drawn to Schalke, maybe you'd have thought, oh, here we go. But then they bounce back with a 6-1 victory, which is a positive sign. However, yeah, their run-in is difficult. As you said, this game against Bayern Munich is huge, the Klassiker, and they have not had a good time of it against Die Roten in recent times. They haven't lost to Dortmund at home in the league in 9 years. They haven't even lost to Dortmund since 2018 in the league, full stop. And last time they got beaten by Die Borussia was in the 2017 DFB Pokal semi-final at the Allianz Arena. So yeah, history's really not on their side at all. I watched an interview with Marius Wolf going into this, and he said they are super confident. They've got to go for it. They've got to go for it, don't they? They have to try and take this. But yeah, there could be other destabling factors. Is the talk around Bellingham, is his future going to hot up? We've already seen today. If you put in Dortmund into Google, all the news stories about whether or not he's going to go to Liverpool, Madrid, City, etc. Is that going to become a bit of a destabilising factor as this running goes in? And then, let's look at their remaining fixtures. Union Berlin at home, not easy. They've got a few of the relegation guys who are going to be sort of fired up, trying to stay up. And then, Eintracht Frankfurt as well. Maybe if Oliver Glasner gets a potential move to Tottenham Hotspurs, that could be something that works in their favour. But it's not the easiest of run-ins, certainly when you compare it to Bayern Munich's run-in going down the back stretch. Augsburg away for the second last game, that's never an easy match. We've seen sort of Bayern Munich sort of trip up there in recent times too. So I just think that the depth in that Bayern Munich squad could be overwhelming at certain points, but I just hope that Terzic can keep this team motivated to get over the line. But it's tough to say. It all rests on Die Klassiker. If they can have a 4-point buffer with 8 games to go, then who knows what could happen.
Absolutely. It is going to be so incredibly tight. I don't know. I'm looking at Bayern's run-in as well. I think there's some difficult games in there as well. Freiburg after Dortmund, that's difficult. Leipzig on the penultimate game, who might be fighting for Champions League football at that stage. Oh, my Cubs, if you had to go with your head and your heart combined, your full body, what are you thinking? Can they do it?
Well, you know what? This is the thing. Bayern also play 3 relegation candidates at home. I just back them to win those games very, very easily, like Hertha Berlin, Hoffenheim, Schalke. Maybe Schalke can do Dortmund a favour for their neighbours. But head and heart together. Well, at the start of the season, I did predict Bayern not to win the league. I thought Leipzig were going to do it. And I might stay true to that. I might follow through. I might follow. No. I like to stay true to the Bayern not winning it, even though I didn't really see Dortmund getting there in this incarnation. I think my head would still say Bayern. My heart says Dortmund, but my heart's going to overrule my head on this one. I'm going to go for it. I'm going to go for Borussia Dortmund.
Love it.
Might look very silly in 2 weeks' time.
Well, I think I might join you, to be fair. I think those ties against Man City are going to take a lot out of them. If they get through that, it's likely, it is Real Madrid or Chelsea, likely Real Madrid on current form, at least in the Champions League, of course. And then they might have a Champions League final to look forward to as well. So I'm going to go with Dortmund. Henry, can we get a clean sweep?
Yeah, go on then, why not? Go on. The yellow wall.
The yellow wall, it's here. It's in the studio, in Sky. Guys, thank you very much for watching Continental Club Extra. Let us know your thoughts, rather. I'm so taken away with the Dortmund clean sweep. Let us know your thoughts in the comments down below. Go Dortmund or Bayern. Let us know your reasoning why in the comments as well. If you've enjoyed this video, don't forget to like it and subscribe to EuroFootball Daily. And we'll catch you later in the week. Bye-bye.